Okay, I'm going to go ahead and call to order our August 25th, 2021, second monthly meeting of the Hendersonville City Council. We had a request for a slight change in our agenda. So our first presentation is going to be C, insurance benefit requirements. Someone has to get out of here and get to a class. So we will start with that. And
Mayor Vogt, members of City Council, I'd like to introduce two of our team members, Courtney Looper and Brandon Roberts. They are part of our wellness committee, and they've been working diligently on this. And so I'll turn it over to them to make the presentation.
okay.
Good afternoon, Council. I'm Brandon. This is Courtney. As you mentioned, we're going to be going over the insurance benefits requirements that we are planning to try to introduce to the employees starting in September. And we're going to cover a few of the changes that are to the existing plan and the requirements, which will hopefully bring some more incentives for the employees to try to become more healthy, to be more mindful of their own bodies. So, Courtney, go ahead and
okay. So again, I'm Courtney Looper. I work for the water treatment plant. So I've always kind of had the efforts to keep everybody healthy. Basically, we make the water. So if it's not, good water, everybody's health is on the line. So that's kind of why I'm even on this committee. Basically, where I'm going to start is we have always been with MedCost as far as when I've been here since 2014. They have always required you to have an annual physical and basically to have a preventative screening. This past year, because of the pandemic, they have not required you to have a preventative screening, but they did require you to have an annual physical. As far as I've been told, everybody was basically able to meet that requirement through MedCost. At least 6 employees were not able to, so they got a 10% increase in their decrease in their paycheck, basically. So what we have came up with, because MedCost no longer is making you have these preventative screenings, we've came up with a part where we think we should still have preventative screenings. Even if you're the youngest and the healthiest, I think you should still know your functions of your body. And if you're, the oldest and the wisest, you should still know what's going on with your body. I mean, we think it's very important to know that. And in order for everybody to be able to do that, it should be a requirement. And that's in the first block. It kind of names off your preventative, like a mammogram, pap smears, and your colonoscopies. Now, what's new, what we have added, and it's kind of based off what the county has done and other municipalities, they've also done it as well within different requirements. With Hendersonville, we think that we should meet 3 out of the 5. When you go to get your annual physical, they don't necessarily write down all these things. So with our incentive, if you participate in the little 200 points quarterly Excel well, which is going to be only for an employee. If you have a spouse, obviously they're not going to be able to meet that requirement because they are not part of that. So if you have a spouse, they are basically going to have to meet 3 out of the 4, which is the blood pressure, waist circumference, blood glucose, and that's it. If you're an employee, you get 3 out of the 5. If you meet 3 out of the 5. If you cannot meet 3 out of the 5, because if somebody has, things that they cannot control, people have diabetes, people have things that they just cannot control themselves. There is, and he'll talk about that too with the HIPAA, but if it's because, basically you're not doing what you need to be doing, like exercising, just simple little things like that, and you couldn't make 3 out of these 5, there's going to be a opportunity to go and get coached, which is basically going to help these employees. If they're able to get coaching on this, then they're going to see it's important that you're able to know what your body is doing. And if you've got a high blood pressure and you don't know what's causing that, if a coach can be able to help you bring that blood pressure down, it's going to help the city in a way, because they're not going to be going to the doctor as much for that issue. But basically where it's going to boil down to is I think it's just going to help in general, all the employees, whether you're young or they're older. That's basically where it's at right now.
All right. If you're able to meet the A requirements, 3 out of the 5 B requirements, as well as the med cost requirements, you'll see in the next portion down the rates that are going to be charged, and that's for the employer rates, the spouse rates, and the family plan rates. If you're able to meet the med cost requirements, but not the city requirements, then the cost you'll find directly under the blue columns. And if by chance you meet the city requirements, but not the med cost requirements, then the cost will be in the green column. Now, if you're not able to meet either of the incentives, then you will add the 2 columns together in order to create the cost of what your insurance is going to be to the employee per paycheck. This amount will change every year. The requirements will have to be met from January 1st to December 31st, but the cost will not be changed until the fiscal year, which is July 1st of the following calendar year.
Which is where this comes in, yeah. Basically, yeah. The red is going to be if you say an employee was not able to meet 3 out of the 5 and they chose not to go to any coaching. They just decided to take the 10% out of their paycheck. Say they did not do anything that they were supposed to do throughout that year, from January to December of 2021. Then a lot of employees do not realize this. They do not get charged that 10% until that next fiscal year, which is in July of 2022, which is why it's a little confusing, but that's when they're going to be charged. Now, same thing for January 2022 to December 2022. If they choose not to do any of those incentives, they will not be charged until that following year, July 2023, so forth.
As of right now, our tentative plan is to roll all of this information out to the employees come September. We do plan on holding multiple events for the employees that are working the day shift, as well as employees that are working the evening and night shift. And we are currently in discussions of trying to either come up with an idea of either doing a Zoom presentation or a Microsoft Teams or a Facebook Live, some sort of informative platform like that for the individuals at home,
Yes.
with the kids, the spouses, whatever, that can't make it to these events, because we are wanting to make these events open to the employees as well as the dependents. But for whatever reason, if they can't make it here in person, then we want to be able to still provide them with that information and answer their questions. And we feel that for doing that through one of these platforms would also give them that opportunity as well to be informed and know what's going on with, because it's the dependents' health care coverage as much as it's the employees as well. As she was speaking with HIPAA earlier, there will be a HIPAA clause that is put out that says that any of these above mentioned requirements that are not able to be met by an individual who has a disability or anything or for whatever, physical or emotional reason, they will be able to reach out to either Jennifer Harrell or Deanne Van White and reach out to them and create with the physician as well as with the insurance provider a form of requirement that will be able to be met by that individual on a case-to-case basis.
Yeah, because some people are just not going to be able to make it.
Do we have any questions?
Who's the company that you guys are going to have do your risk assessments? Or have you chosen?
Right now, we've always used it. It's Integra. Integra Wellness. They've been using that for years, but there's also where it's been proven that these incentives worked. I mentioned that they count. That's where we kind of got this idea, is we've kind of researched who else has done this, and it's been proven to, it's not going to be like the first year, you know, because there's just going to be those certain people that either are not going to understand, you're going to have a spouse that had no idea about it. But it has been proven throughout at least 13 municipalities that we researched that it decreased and like it helped their actual health, and it was able to decrease their rates. And Jennifer can show you that information, but it's like, I think we actually have went through PPCN. Yeah, that's who actually takes the data, and they will control our data as well to show that if it's working, great. But throughout all these municipalities, there's not been one that it's not helped. It's been helping. Did that answer your question? Okay.
Other questions?
So we know this was a desire of the city council as we talked during the budget. So we wanted to make sure that as the wellness committee had worked on it to come and make a presentation to the council before we presented it to the staff and just make you aware of it at this point. We're not asking for any action at this point. Just
Yeah, I think it's helpful that it's an employee committee that's making these recommendations, that it's not just saying, this is what you have to do. But it's coming.
And they'll also have over a year to prepare for this, like, because we want to get it out there by September, which is just in a few weeks. So they'll be able to prepare, tell your spouse, you know, have your independent involved. They'll be able to have that information well ahead, especially like for that case-to-case issue where they know they're not going to make these criterias or these standards rather. They'll have that chance to apply within their doctor. They can contact Jennifer Harrell about what they can do to opt out of that because they have these certain disabilities or whatever. Like I said, it's case to case, so it's going to be different, but they'll have well over a year to prepare.
Questions, comments?
Thank you for your hard work on this.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
we're going above and beyond.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
good work.
Thank
Courtney.
you.
Brandon. Thank you very much.
Got that one. Special appropriations. There he is.
Afternoon, Mayor, City Council. Just here to help facilitate any discussion you might have on the special appropriations process. So the spreadsheet that you all have already provided information on, this is for our standard special appropriations process, unrelated to the ARP funds that we are also planning to allocate. The math is in front of you, and if you would like to review
Go to look in the city council agenda packages.
That's on. Yeah.
And presentations.
it's in the presentation.
Oh, okay.
Adam, if you'd like, we could go one by one, review the request and then the average appropriation down the line. Would council want that, or do they want to just look at the total?
It's just hard to see it.
And page 3 of the agenda packet has it, I believe.
That would be presentation, but I think it's under.
Yeah, that.
Yeah.
You scroll into it a little bit further, Brian.
Oh.
Yeah,
That one
yours.
is mine,
Yeah, okay. Have any?
So-
There's a folder that says presentations.
Did you find it, Jerry?
Looking.
Oh, that's a little better.
It's not under city council. It's under here. It's under agenda. Okay.
Presentations.
Okay. Got it.
825. There it is.
About an hour ago. That one. Got it.
Oh, I found it.
Great. So the first on the list is agribusiness Henderson County. And then, you know, just looking down the list, we have filled in with an allocation decision on every nonprofit that has requested a grant going into this fiscal year. So we are just a little late on this process, and that's because we were delaying to make a determination on those ARP funds. So again, just because of the timing of that ARP process, we decided to unpause this and make that grant money available through the standard process. So you can see, just, I guess, starting with the bottom line, the current allocation decision is $106,060. There are various allocations, and I'm just standing by to answer any questions you might have on any of those requests. So I'm here to help.
So Adam,
Okay. So just looking through this, I did want to ask Jeff and Lindsay, did you guys not want to allocate any money to the Heritage Museum?
It was not at the top of my list.
Okay, I'm just saying because those didn't have anything. That's why I was asking.
Yes, that was how I meant to do it.
Okay.
So Adam, we have a budget. We have 106, or that's what was
the requests amount to 106,000. Council has already approved the budget amendment for $100,000 even. We can make an additional amendment if it's the council's directive to go over that original revised budget.
So we need to, unless the council wants to appropriate more, we need to cut $6,060. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Well, I suggest the Art Inspiration Center only had 2 council members to put money, 3 to put no money. So that's, in my opinion, should be cut. And it's a majority vote to give them nothing. I think we should take that out.
I think it's important to point out they got money.
Mm-hmm.
I agree. No, I'm not upset.
But I mean, if you're going to say that, I think you need to say
They have already got money this year.
Yeah.
And I think
quite a bit.
I asked John that question after I had already sent this in.
Yeah.
And I asked you the other day, didn't we already send the money? I think I'd already sent this to you. So I'm okay with just zeroing that one out.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think I understood that when I first put this in.
And the reason, when you asked me nothing on the Heritage Museum, we're putting in $42,000 into the museum.
That's
The
fine.
new museum, but I mean, there's a point in my
Okay.
not doing that. It's not because I don't like and respect that, but I don't think, I think we're putting enough money in museums.
Sure, yeah.
now.
Mm-hmm.
I personally send money to it, but
Okay.
The reason I put some in Center for Art and Inspiration is because they have been sponsoring the Coffee with the Mayor, and we will be having one of our council conversations there. So that's why I put an amount in for them.
I mean, do we have
Free
to?
advertising they're getting for the city. Most of us.
Do we have to cut the $6,060?
No.
I mean, it's not like a.
No, ma'am, you can, it's
Rank.
it's the council's
Like-
decision. Yeah, we can flex if that's the council's directive, or we can go with the 100,000.
I mean, I feel like that's so close.
I mean, I'm fine with the 106. I don't have a problem.
Yeah.
So I'm okay with that. But if we're being asked to cut money, I'm just trying to suggest things.
And I guess I make my annual request that we give the shuffleboard people their 1,200 since they just turn around and give it back to us.
I'm with Barbara.
I would agree that I thought that was kind of a standing thing that we really, I know it's on here, but
That's all they ever ask for.
And they keep the place
Yeah.
occupied and keep it cleaned up. And
They have the national event there too.
Yeah.
I'm fine with that. I think I messed that one up.
Yeah, they hosted a national
Yeah.
shuffleboard tournament.
Yeah.
Just what, a week ago, 2 weeks ago?
It
It's
just,
wonderful.
that's all they ever ask for.
No, it's a nice rounder number even.
I would suggest, I don't know if we need to make it a motion. I would make the motion and we go with the 106,300. Brian can find the money
I'm good with that too.
to up the ante to 106,300. But Brian finding that.
So Councilmember Miller, if you would make the motion, if we're comfortable with this, to that you approve the FY 21-22 special appropriations and increase the budget at that point to 106,300.
So moved. Is that okay?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm turning.
I've done it before.
Yeah.
okay, heard the motion. Is there any discussion? Okay, if not, those in favor of 106, whatever it was,
1,300.
for our special appropriation, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Ayes have it, and that has been approved. Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate all the work, Anna.
Yes, ma'am. And I'm also associated with the next agenda item, so I'm just going to stand here.
Okay. And so next item is Fire Station 1 design update.
So, Madam Mayor, Council, again, we have Keith Parlin with ADW Architects here to present a third draft of our Fire Station 1 project. So Keith has a video I think he would like pulled up and is here to provide information on that design and answer any questions you might have.
All right. Well, hello, everyone. Exciting time to look at design work. So we've been working hard with the fire department and managers and everybody trying to right size this, make sure all their needs are met, but we're not doing too much or too little. So I thought it might be good. We have a 3D animation of the exterior. It's kind of just fun to see that first. So do that, and then we can dive into a little more detail on the plans and stuff like that. But hopefully that'll run okay. And here we go. It does have some music. I don't know if you got a volume. Awkward silence, but it's not. Basically, this is the administration. It's on the lower level with days come out now. Generally, the administrative areas are all off to the left, days in the middle, and then all the moving things. This is the side. Very understated entry. Make sure have a couple of the trucks pointing in one direction, a couple of the trucks pointing in the other direction. So with the one-way streets, they can head north or south really easy that way. If we can run it again too, that's really fast, and we'll look at the plans. What we've done in the administration, you'll see there's some area down below left. If they need to expand this down the road, we've left room for a building expansion there. So again, trying to think down the road to not get into a bind spending this money now. We'd have a little bit of expansion capability that way. So that was sort of a compromise we worked out to try to get the square footage down a little bit, but yet still plan for the future by doing that.
Can you go up the expansion number?
No, not really. The bays are sized for like I'll show you the plan of it in a second, for the biggest type ladder truck you guys would ever need in the city. But at Station 2, the bays are a little shorter. They can fit an engine, but they can't fit the really, really big one. So if you ever needed to have that larger size truck, this station would be able to have it. So there were some little planning steps taken there. You can see the space off to the left there of the administration. That would be left for additional administrative expansion if ever needed. So with that, we go ahead and look at, we have a little presentation booklet here. Let's just start with the site plan. You guys had seen, something very similar to this way back when we were doing the initial studies on this. You're obviously very familiar with the site. We are also looking at the park project and how to put the mini golf in there. So we're working away at that right now. But just to orient you, that was this corner up here where that is located currently. Tennis courts over in this location. So the old station is pretty much located here. We're using kind of the same driveway that's existing that the trucks return and back in to the station down below here now. But instead, we're putting administrative offices sort of on that lower level. There's two main parking areas, one more for the staff for the station, the folks that are turning out during calls. They're really on this right side of the station over here, sort of the living side, if you will. Bays, again, are in the middle. There's some support spaces off of that. And then the two-story administration area. And their parking is all sort of at that lower level that's existing now pretty much.
How many parking places would you have? 40, 45?
Yeah, it's a little small for me to read from here. I think we have about 35.
33 plus
18.
And then we have, more for the shift change and everything up above for the firefighters. One of the really unique things about this is we're going to have 3 companies and a battalion chief running out of this station, which is a lot. It's a lot. So you start thinking about lockers, beds, just chairs in the day room, dining, all these things. It's like by a lot of people in this. So, the big thing, we'll look at the floor plan in a second, is making sure our turnout times are still fast. We're setting up at this point, it's early. Construction market's been chaotic. We've all, we talked about that a little bit already. You guys have heard and seen this. We're setting up some alternates. So there's some things that would be nice to do. We're going to go ahead and design them and then bid them. And then you guys can make the final decisions when the numbers come in. So one of them is go ahead and we're going to design PV power up on the roof. It's a perfect place for it. So, and that's got a pretty decent payback. It is upfront cost, but I think that's one of those things that's almost a no-brainer. And it's an alternate. So if you can't afford it down the road, it'll at least be set up for it, where you could add it. So the structure will be there for it, the conduit, all that in the base bid. Another thing we looked at was trying to collect the rainwater. So some kind of a cistern down here. Probably would be some kind of an above ground tank. It might go in the ground. I'm not sure yet. but we can pick up all of the rainwater on this. I mean, a lot of the site and roof, this is down low here. So that's a perfect location for it to all drain down to. And then it can be filtered and pumped back, whether it's for irrigation, or maybe they can even wash trucks with it outside or something like that. It'll give some water reclamation capacity, but that's being set up as an alternate also. Another one, the bay drives, those are obviously very heavy duty concrete, but you have these separate large parking areas. So we were thinking we would do those as an alternate for that pervious pavers. We did that over at the police station. I don't know if you've seen, they're in now. So that helps groundwater infiltrate in there and have less of the dirty runoff, so to speak. So that's a really nice thing to be able to do. So those are three real specific extra sustainability things we thought would be good as alternates. They don't have to be done, so that's why they make good alternates, but it'd be good value to it, I think, if you can do them. So, and we'll design it all the way through, so until the final pricing comes in. Let's see, we mentioned that we wanted it to be very obvious where the public should come. So we have that more of a tower element at the front. I think that'll be pretty obvious for most everybody that would be the place you'd go if you had a meeting with anybody or fire marshal, things like that. I think it'll be easy for everybody to pick up on that. We do have a little screen wall out here. We'll have some signs that this is staff parking, just to kind of minimize how many people might come in there thinking the opposite. There is a little patio area out here. We'll set up an alternate to do a roof over that as well for shade, but they can need a little place to eat out and cook out. It's definitely very public on all the sides. So you have a lot of front elevation, so to speak. So, we tried to balance where we were spending the money and make it look appropriate on all.
Did you consider gating, just a little lift on here? Because they're going to be poaching. People are going to be poaching your parking places.
Yeah, we could. We did put that wall there to help discourage that a little bit, since you're one way heading up this way. I think most of the residents will learn pretty quickly, just by getting familiar with how the building looks.
Not worried about them.
Yeah.
It's just a thought.
Yeah.
I mean, my point being that it might be good to run power there to have it.
That's a good idea. Yeah. That's easy to do for sure. One thing we did is we did close off the drive on the opposite side.
Saw that. Good idea.
Through. Yeah. At first we were thinking it would be good to have one here, but then it would be doing the same thing. And
good idea.
Yeah, so change that.
Councilmember Hensley, do you have a question?
I was going to ask about the drive.
Yeah. So, that's problematic as it is now. So I'm trying to end that. Yeah. It does make people have to go around though. I mean, that would be the only downside to that, but they'll figure that out pretty quick, I think.
It'll be all right.
Let's see. Let's go ahead and go to the floor plan.
How about the big alternate that's listed?
Which one?
Solar panels.
Yeah, those are the ones that are shown up here on the roof. So we can get a pretty big array up there, probably more than 35 kW up there. So that would be really cool. So we'll design the roof structure and the conduit for it, and a place for an inverter in the base bid. And then the alternate will be for the actual panels and inverter and all that stuff. So
cool.
Yeah, it'll give you good options when we get the final numbers back. All right. And I'll just tell you, there'll be a lot of other sustainable features. We, on the police station, we had, I think we provided you a list of some of the features we had included. We'll do that on this project too. So we'll have high efficiency mechanical units, low flow water fixtures, air quality standards we're meeting, low VOC materials. So there's a lot more that we just would do anyways.
So a lot of opportunity for Mike Huffman barrels everywhere.
We'll come up with a little summary sheet, so you'll be able to see all that.
Barrels would not last.
Oh, come on.
10 minutes.
Mike's making it.
We fill one up in like 45 minutes at our house. Yeah, it feels very quickly that we fill it.
Said barrels, multiples.
Well,
So the way, again, the station is set up really is where the sort of the firefighting fire station side is over on this side. The bays with the trucks in the middle, and then the two-story administration piece over here. There's a legend up in the top corner if you want to be able to kind of see what the colors stand for, but they're pretty self-explanatory. We put furniture in there so you can kind of see. Basically, there's 2 beds in each room. You have the multiple lockers. There's one for each shift, and then also a linen locker. So it'd be like 3 lockers that you put your own bedding in because they're sharing beds. So although you have a lot of bedrooms, you actually have ×3 using all those bedrooms. So with 3 companies and a battalion chief, it's a lot of people. Again, there's multiple bathrooms, so those are shared. It's an efficient way to do it as opposed to giant locker rooms. Also, it's more unisex, so depending on the demographics today versus in the future, really doesn't create problems for you. It gives you more flexibility. We have some doors that are around to kind of keep sound from other parts of the space, separate from the living quarters. But as you can see from a turnout time standpoint, they have direct route out onto the bays. Very easy from every direction, from every space. The day room up above, those are on little platforms. So I wouldn't call it stadium seating, but they're raised just a little bit so they can see over each other. It's a big day room with that many people. Obviously the dining, big tables, they could be separated, but it might be nice to have it all together. More adequate sized, kitchen facilities. You have to have 2 dishwashers or something with this many people, and the bigger stoves, that kind of stuff. So everything is really sized appropriately for the 3 companies and the battalion chief. We have the mechanical systems broken up into several different areas. They're high efficiency, variable speed, kind of not overly complicated systems. And that does a few things. It provides energy efficient systems. It also provides some redundancy. So the worst case scenario is a unit goes down, one zone is down until it's fixed. There's a lot more people that can fix these type of systems. It should serve really well. We've done a lot of studies on fire stations and found that that's really optimum systems to put in. Yeah.
Are there like any ionic filtration systems?
Yep, we'll put that in. Yep, that's something that since COVID, really, we've been doing pretty much.
Okay, cool.
As a standard thing. Yeah, for sure. Mechanical rooms have access to the roof. There are some support spaces, logistic storage, kind of rehab where you have your ice and water, things like that, accessible both from the sort of the kitchen side as well as from the bays. You turn out gear lockers, again, having those outside of the bays is much safer. You get better ventilation in there. Lots of good reasons there. And so this was sort of that half bay I'd mentioned. So for your battalion chief vehicle, you really need them inside because the last thing you would want is to have to try to get ice off of your windshield when you have a call and you need to get out there. If you think about it, it's no different really in the way they turn out. So you have room then for 2 engines and a ladder. And, a standard ladder is a little smaller, but again, as I mentioned, we kind of sized this for if the potential of a tiller sized, it's where they sort of have the driver in the back, if you will. Sometimes the heights of your buildings and the proximities to the street require those types of ladders. So that's sort of in the future, there wouldn't really be a place for it if we didn't design for that. So that was basically determining the size and steps of the bays, so that you wouldn't be closed out from being able to house that in the future. So interestingly, because the upper level it has potential at grade exits on both sides, you almost don't need a stair other than you need to get to the downstairs. So we actually only have 1 stairway communicating down to the lower level. These are all administrative offices. Some of these are related to the fire station component. We're actually bringing their old fire pole over. We're going to make it a display. It's going to have a grate so nobody gets hurt on it or anything, but it's kind of cool. So it's a part of history. We thought we'd bring that over, a little railing looking down on the lobby below. And there's just a little bit of room in the lobby down below. If they have some memorabilia, they could display down there as well. So can you go up the pages just a little bit? There is one other little thing is we do have a small mezzanine. Because of the height of these bays, when you build something in a half of a bay like that, you've got a huge volume above it. So We thought it was a really good idea to go ahead and build a mezzanine for some of their logistic storage and things of that nature up there. Because you already had the volume, the roof was so high there, we really just putting in the floor and the stairs to it. So it's a little extra to do that, but it's also really cheap square footage.
I know do you have a decontamination room or whatever is there?
We do, yep, yep. So that's located here. So that's right off the bays. You've got a big stainless steel sink with the sideboards like you'd see in a commercial kitchen with a hand sprayer. It has the extractor so they can clean their turnout gear, drying box so they can dry all that equipment. And then we have what we call the bed bug shower. So if they need to do further decontamination once they get back to the station, instead of going into the living quarters with bed bugs or something like that, they can shower right there.
And this is all separately ventilated, or how does that handle?
Yeah, so in the apparatus bays, we'll have heat, and we'll probably have maybe a couple of those oversized fans in there. And then as far as the turnout gear, decon room, those would be on their own zone mechanical units. We'll put some ceiling fans in the turnout gear room too. A lot of times, even if they haven't just been washed or anything, if they're sweaty or got wet from activity, they need a lot of air circulation and dehumidification. So yeah, we'll have those spaces with their own air conditioning. Yep. All right, you want to go over?
I have a question.
Yeah.
Chief Miller. So the training room down here on the bottom left, will that be available for members of the public to use like the one in the police department? Well, obviously when it's not being used.
We move it over just a little more and we'll look at the downstairs level.
Will that be available to for the public?
I mean, as in, I think it's obviously, so a couple of things. I think, yes, if the city council that's the desire, absolutely would. Obviously, during times of COVID and things like that, we may want to restrict. Right. Yeah. But in normal times, assuming when we do get back to normal times, as long as like any facility, as long as it's not in use for city functions, for city work, then any of the public could use it, I think.
And if you look at the design, we set it up to where you do have, sort of a check-in window here at an administrative office. But we have doors to where the public could get into it if it's left unlocked for them to be able to access.
I don't know. I know that when we designed the police department, we designed that room so that members of the public could use it. Mm-hmm. So they could come into the police department. So we wanted them to feel comfortable. Mm-hmm. So I really don't know. Okay. But as long as it's not being used by the fire department, if people want to use it for whatever public meeting, it allows.
With the exception of if there's enough parking places.
Right, well, I mean,
like if it's after hours or something, there would.
Yeah, after hours it would make sense. I mean, during hours it would be. I think you might have a problem.
Right, I'm sure there might be some logistics, but the way it's designed, it would, like he said, I agree. It's open. It's conceivable the public can walk in and not interfere with anything else behind there. Mm-hmm.
Yep. And so we'll have, secure readers at certain doors so that it could be left open where the bathrooms. So it's really set up to where you could run it either way. It gives you some flexibility.
So as we're doing the design, Keith, maybe incorporate the key system so that, we can lock off part of the building and leave the
for sure
public section open.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Like even if that door to the stairway is left as an egress route to the outside, actually, I don't think we'll need to do that. It's with it being a fully sprinkled building, we wouldn't even need that. We do have a second access here. You could just limit it to the room even and have that as your exit, as your only entrance there. The other is an exit on. But if you wanted to let them have access to the bathrooms, you could set it up to do that too. So. Yeah, so it's very flexible. Down here, we have more of the fire marshal and inspectors' offices down here. The training room here, you have, it is a second training room since you have some over at Station 2. However, the thing is you've got 3 companies and a battalion chief all located downtown. So from a training standpoint, there's a huge need for training down in this location, and to try to send everybody to the other side of town to do that would not be very efficient. So there's a genuine need to to have something like that here. Plus, you have your training officers and stuff like that located here. You want to go ahead and go on to some of the, we have some still shots too. These just kind of give you a better overall view and concept of how things would work. You know, we really are working with the terrain there. It ended up working out really good as a pull-through station there. When you go to the current parking lot and you go up so high and then it's so high and then you go down back to the road, it kind of is deceiving. It doesn't feel like that would work very well, but it's just that everything is built up so high. And I think part of that was because of the height of the building needed to be above the bays before, so the building had to be higher. But it works with a nice gentle slope on both sides to both streets, so it lays out nicely. This just gives you more context, and I think, you know, we'll be able to keep some of the existing trees. You know, they're far enough from some of the construction zones, so we'll see how that goes. That would be nice. Again, this just kind of shows how we left some room where we'll handle the retaining walls to where it would be relatively easy to build an addition down the road if you needed to. We'll make sure the panels are sized for the generator, things like that. We wouldn't need to do that for a long, long time, but at least you'd have the capability. So.
Can you go back to that previous one? So there is some loss of parking on, well, I'm just looking because it looks like you have drawn in some parking spots along 25 that currently exist now, like if you're going to go to the putt-putt. But obviously that would not be the case.
Yeah.
That would have to change.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's right. Yeah, the ones on the opposite side of the street would really not be there anymore. And then in the park, we're looking at the putt-putt stuff. Of course, we'll have parking, you know, right, appropriate parking for that as well. So over there.
Without the putt-putt being there and tennis courts, do you see those need for those parking spaces? I mean,
that's a great question, John. I don't know why you would park there. I've never even seen, well, I have seen students park along Bearcat up there. Mm-hmm. I've seen them park up there. I've never seen them park. Maybe they parked on 25. I don't know. Other than parking for students, I don't know why anybody would park there.
Yeah.
Very, very rarely you see some.
We're late to school.
Yeah.
So that's a great question. Can I defer and think about that? I guess I'm responding about, you mean as opposed to just making it, I guess you can't really make it 3 lanes because
no
third lane when you get across there.
Yeah, there was,
just, and yeah, I don't know if
No.
Low battery. So they would loop around and back into that space there. So they're just a battalion chief, like SUV. Yeah. Yeah. Since it's a half bay, so it's not a pull through, but it's a smaller vehicle, so that won't really be a problem. Mm-hmm. Everything's masonry. We've got like a nice manufactured kind of mountain stone, if you will, looking product at the bottom. It's not the thin stuff like a lot of houses have. It's load bearing, thick stuff. It'll be very durable, all the materials. So this one will last over 50 years. I guarantee that. Over 50, easy. No. We usually shoot for like 50 to 70 years is why we kind of go bucky, but. Yeah, the site plan. Yeah. Go up one more to the site plan. The site plan. Further up.
Hi. So Chief, I'm just asking you, do you see any reason admin building should have an interest also off of North Church?
Yeah, we talked about that. That was one of the very original one that you showed city council had that. One of the issues that we face is people cutting through all the time.
Oh.
They don't make it down to the corner, which is another 50 feet, but they'll cut through the parking lot. And so
gotcha.
Obviously with fire apparatus, we've had a lot of close calls, we've had them in the way, and so we didn't want to duplicate that. He's been kind enough to share some things. Some of the other thoughts that we had were putting maybe a small median in and putting an entrance staggered or an entrance the same way, but put a median in the middle, so you'd actually have to come in and navigate that so they saw that they could pull through. So we talked about that. We want to make it as easy for the public to find us and get in there as we can. Our concern was making it a cut through again.
Yeah, and that's a very good observation because locals would probably do that.
Plus you'd lose parking places too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's picked up for another couple spots.
Right. People will get there. They'll figure it out.
Yeah.
You just need to nip it.
But we're certainly open to any suggestions that you might have. And the reason we couldn't stagger the entrance on one side versus the other is there's a retaining wall along North Church Street. The elevation.
Right.
Because you said you put bids out for all the alternate.
Yeah, we'll bid them all. So it's good to give you guys flexibility. I feel like it's just things are so variable. Even when the market is crazy like this, it's good to have flexibility like that. If you don't want to downsize your building so much, so it'd be better to have it.
The questions or comments?
I think it's looking very nice. Thank you.
It is definitely something to be proud of, to be able to drive up into that. It's so gorgeous. It's a good welcome into our city.
Just you guys probably the old station. You know, if you've been through the old station and see, you know, it's just complicated with the number of people, and it just wasn't, you know, back in the station, it wasn't really what you did at that time. You know, I know the site probably dictated some of that at the time, but things will function completely different. It'll be much safer. You're not going to have risk of people falling off a pole or twisting an ankle on the stair. I mean, all that. None of the turnout time is using the two-story part. That's just administrative. So all the turnout time is just on flat ground going straight out there. So it's an exciting
timeline for when it would be open.
For when it would be open, Keith, you might have to.
So we probably have, I mean, if we were released to keep going, you know, we probably have about 6 months to get through the design process and permitting. Edifice will have a little bit of time with bidding it with their subcontractors and pre-qualifying, and then they'll build this in a year. I think we might have had a little more time in there, but because they're a construction manager, it's different. They can pre-qualify their subs. So they're going to get better subs that can build this a little better. When we do straight bid on a lot of our fire stations, that's really one of the problems is if the subcontractors haven't built fire stations, they're more complicated than they think. And yeah, the other thing that could make it take a little longer is material supply chain issues. I probably shouldn't say 12 months only. It could end up being more like if they're having trouble getting the metal deck for the roof, things like that. But again, with as being a construction manager, they could try to do early orders for things like that faster than you would with those just a bid project. So real advantage to having a construction manager at these times, for sure.
To give you a date there, that'd be like May of 2023.
Okay. Well, yeah, I think if you guys are happy with where things are going and we can keep moving, we're ready to roll. So I know if this may be doing some more detailed pricing, or we may move into the next phase and do the detailed pricing the next go round. So we're ready to keep it rolling. So
unless I hear stop, we're going to keep going.
2 thumbs up.
All right. Very good.
Good.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you guys very much.
New business, approval of resolution awarding demolition contract to Target Constructors LLC.
Mayor Volt, members of City Council, as part of the parking deck project, we have 3 buildings and a site to demo before we can begin the parking deck, and we put those out to bid, and the low bid came in at $86,981. We had 4 bidders with Target contractors being the low bidder. The bids are at $86,981, which is your low. You got a bid. The next 2 bids are $122,640 and $119,112, and then a high bid of $499,980.
Oh
They
my!
didn't really want that job.
So we recommend that you award the bid to the project to Target contractors in the amount of $86,981. You have a resolution there that we ask you to approve, and we will issue the notice of award and let them get started.
Okay. Any questions? Not, if someone would like to make a motion.
Madam Mayor, move City Council adopt a resolution awarding the demolition contract to Target Constructors LLC as presented.
Is there any discussion? Not those in favor of awarding the contract, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Ayes have it. Motion passes and can get moving on that. Thank you. And that is all we have for our business today. So we are adjourned.
Awesome.